So there's this great quote by Elbert Hubbard who said, "Enthusiasm is like having two right hands." Now, I really believe in that William James "to act is to become" principle, which we covered in a separate video. William James wrote that if we wanted a certain quality, we should act as if we already had it. And the more we do that, the more we realize two things. Number one, the tactic works. And number two, identity is far more fluid than we often care to admit. Now, in this video, I want to share a specific application of this idea that can and will change your entire attitude instantly. I call this variation of the William James principle the enthusiasm game, and I discovered its power back when my son was in kindergarten and we were always struggling to make it to school on time. Our commute to his school usually takes anywhere from 25 to 45 minutes of driving time, depending on weather conditions and, more importantly, when we actually leave the house. Now, he and I have always had an awesome relationship, with the exception of weekday mornings during the school year between 7 and 7:30 a.m. That's when things would hit a snag, me trying to get him to hustle, and him with a glacially slow response time. Me pointing out precisely how many minutes behind schedule we were, while he would take his own sweet time getting dressed. Me running around trying to find his missing shoes, while he would get distracted by his Legos and choosing which Ninjago action figure he would try to sneak into class that day. It definitely wasn't good for my blood pressure or our relationship. I finally got tired of all the frustration and stress and anger, so one morning, while we were yet again running behind schedule, and he'd been sitting on the toilet already for 10 minutes because he thought he might have to go, I remembered the William James quote, and I basically said to myself, what do I have to lose at this point? So I challenged my semi-constipated kindergartner to the enthusiasm game, to see which one of us could act the most excited. The more outrageous and animated, the better. We weren't looking to win an Academy Award. Our only audience was ourselves. And it quickly got pretty outrageous. "Hey, I bet we're going to be late to school. Again. But that's okay," I would tell him. "The important thing is that this is an awesome day and we're having fun." I forget all the specifics now, but we would keep the commentary going back and forth. Nothing would bother us. Every setback we encountered only made us more positive and happy. We were as unsinkable as Molly Brown herself. Lost socks? Not a problem. Teeth still needed to be brushed? No worries. Bottlenecked in traffic? Hooray for us. It was a startling epiphany. It turns out that you cannot act enthusiastic and be stressed out at the same time. And for that matter, you can't act enthusiastic and not, at some level, genuinely become enthusiastic. It sounds silly, and in fact, the sillier it was, the more pronounced the effect. But my manufactured enthusiasm instantly, and I mean instantly, transformed my attitude. It's true what all those New Agers and quantum folks say. When you experience the physiological effects of a certain attitude or perspective, then, for all practical purposes, you are legitimately experiencing that attitude or perspective. We really do have enormous control over how we feel. When I pretend to be enthusiastic, I become enthusiastic. Not over the course of a week or a day or an hour, but instantly. Try it yourself the next time you find yourself stressed out over something and see for yourself. And there were some amazing implications and benefits from doing so as well. From a completely pragmatic perspective, I found that the more enthusiastic I made myself, and the less I cared about whether or not we were late, the less often we actually would be late. Now, whether that was because of some mysterious law of attraction type of intervention on our behalf from a universe tuned into the waves of my thoughts, or whether it simply says something about how inaccurate my normal stressed out perspective was, I can't say. But the bottom line is that enthusiasm in the mornings, contrived or not, helped us to get where we needed to be on time. And there were other benefits too, big benefits. I felt better. The enthusiasm game produced and allowed me to experience positive energy, naturally, organically, and pretty much instantaneously. It gave me more energy, and the energy it gave me felt great. It also made me more creative. Sure, I was creative in the imaginative sense in that I was pretending to be excited, but I also found that I was more creative in the pragmatic sense and saw connections and possibilities I normally wouldn't have. When we play, we're less constrained by our negative, limiting attitudes. We open ourselves up to experiences and solutions that our negative, fearful selves blindly walk past. We find ourselves becoming more ambitious, not in a greedy, self-centered way, but in a more community or artistic or spiritual way. And that also not only improves our effectiveness, it also improves our health and well-being. Because enthusiasm, or any other positive energy we choose to experience, not only feels great in and of itself, but it also eliminates what it replaces, which for most of us in default mode is often worry, or stress, or frustration. Or as the singer-songwriter Robert Earl notes, it feels so good, feeling good again.